DuPont innovation lowers LCOE by increasing cell efficiencies and system lifetime while reducing total system cost. Materials matter.
That is, for me, the show of industry.
Hello and welcome to the PV Tech Newscast. This week, we'll be taking an in-depth look at the EU-China anti-dumping dispute, discussing recent twists in the ongoing and ever-surprising saga with industry leaders. In other news, the State Bank of India warns that tariff cuts will stifle investment, while the Punjab government signs solar ventures with Europe and China. The EU has announced that it has reached a deal with China to settle their long-running anti-dumping trade dispute. A statement by European Trade Commissioner Karl de Gucht confirmed an agreement was reached, but did not provide the terms of the offer. Speculation in the closing stages of the talks suggested that the agreed-upon minimum import price for Chinese panels would be in the range of 54 to 57 euro cents per watt. However, PV Tech learned from Chinese officials that the deal will include a fluctuating price agreement, with the minimum import price for Chinese products into the EU changing with market conditions. The agreement comes ahead of a 6th of August deadline from which punitive duties of 47.6% would be applied to Chinese modules entering the EU. PV Tech spoke exclusively to Jigar Shah, formerly of SunEdison, and Thierry Lepercq of Solairedirect, who offered their opinions on the case.
80% of the jobs in the solar business are local. Right, only 20% of them are upstream in manufacturing of silicon, glass, solar cells and modules, right? So even the inverters are largely manufactured locally, and a lot of the nuts and bolts are. And so the real question here is what are we trying to accomplish, right? We want to get that last 20% of jobs into our country, assuming, with these trade tariffs. And I think what we're finding is that in an atmosphere of climate change, where you're trying to provide certainty to money sources around the cost of solar and policy and all these other things, there are much better bilateral ways of dealing with trade issues than the court system, where one sort of German CEO decides to take on the rest of the world. The global trade wars are certainly unhelpful to a new industry like the solar industry.
Europe was the home of PV, where PV was born basically, and certainly what was developed in the last decade or so. Very soon Europe will be a marginal market for PV. And I would say to that extent, the trade tariffs are not necessarily, European trade tariffs are not necessarily a fundamental issue. Now, what it underlines is that the fact that there is a need for local content generation, because that's a political issue that has to be taken into account. It is not only a European issue that has been raised in many other markets, obviously the US, but also India, South Africa, and some others. So these tariffs are basically, we consider a wrong answer to a good question.
With the market worth an estimated $28 billion in the last year alone, this is by far the largest trade dispute EU and China has seen, and the recent settlement was hoped to be the end of it. However, the Alliance for Affordable Solar Energy, AFASE, which has campaigned against the anti-dumping duties from the outset, sent a letter to the EC questioning the use of information from Lepercq, the German-based market and media consultancy that provided statistics for the EU-China dumping dispute. A spokesman for AFASE told PV Tech it suspected Lepercq clearly has a relationship with claimants SolarWorld and EU ProSun, causing a conflict of interest. AFASE said using Lepercq, an unknown service provider close to the complainant, is not a satisfactory response. The exaggeration or provision of incorrect figures could have severe effects on installers, AFASE said, as the European market would not have been accurately portrayed. AFASE was also sceptical of how the statistics were obtained, questioning Lepercq's sources, workforce capabilities, and research methods. The EC countered the accusation, saying it used publicly available information such as Bloomberg business reports, which it said it believed to be accurate and verified. The EC also said that all parties had access to the information used and the methodology, with comment from all parties allowed as the EC was playing it very transparent. On the more optimistic side of the fence, Rudolf Staudigl, CEO of German polysilicon manufacturer Wacker Chemie, has stated that the recent settlement between China and the EU could boost the global PV market. He added that if the deal ran its course, the benefits would reach beyond Europe. Finlay Colville of NPD Solarbuzz told PV Tech that the deal was not a happy ending and that the dispute was likely to continue for the foreseeable future. Industry group EU ProSun has already declared that it will be taking the European Commission to court over the agreement with China. EU Trade Commissioner de Gucht said it was the group's right to take legal action, but they did not have a case to answer. In other news, the State Bank of India, the largest lender in the country, has warned against plans to cut the price paid to solar electricity producers in the state of Gujarat. The state-owned electricity purchaser Gujarat Urja Vikas Nigam Limited is looking for the price it pays to be reduced by 28%, but the SBI has said a reduction would limit the availability of funding for future projects. The case is currently with the regulator, and a second hearing is scheduled for the 5th of August. And finally, the government of Pakistan's Punjab province has signed a memorandum of understanding for solar cooperating with a consortium of European countries and another with China North Industries Corporation to combat Pakistan's energy crisis. The consortium of Switzerland, Germany, Italy and Austria signed the MOU with Pakistan's Energy Secretary Usman Bajwa. The consortium will set up a plant for assembling and manufacturing solar panels, solar cells and batteries in Faisalabad, and is also considering 400 solar power projects near industrial zones in Faisalabad, Sialkot, Gujranwala and Lahore, while a 150 megawatt power plant will be set up along the motorway from Pindi Batian to Faisalabad. Also, as part of Pakistan's efforts to increase solar investment and solve its energy crisis, Chinese enterprise Norinco is to provide financing and technical assistance for solar energy and other infrastructure. The Punjab government also has an earlier MOU in place with German solar company AEG, which is to build 450 megawatts of PV in the province. And that's all for this week. Make sure you watch next Friday's newscast, and in the meantime you can keep up to date with all the very latest PV news via our website and our Twitter feed. Thanks for watching.